Hey all you YouTube watchers out there in YouTube land watching the YouTube channel with me making a YouTube video. I got a YouTube video for you. A little more traditional as you guys are already used to. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about those guys. I know you can only see a bit of them right now. And you can also see a bit of a mess over here. I apologize for that. But what are we looking at? We're looking at the Carcano rifle. And it's going to be a quick and dirty view on how to kind of identify the ages of them roughly, and I mean very roughly because there's always exceptions to all these. So we'll have a look at some of the details of what to look for at the gun show. Alright, so this is not going to be a huge video about the history of the rifle, but I do want to go over a really quick basic history. So 1890 would be the first model, which is this guy here. Overall, these were constructed in different versions between 1891 and 1945. Obviously used in World War I, used in World War II. Most of them have some sort of bayonet affixed to them, sometimes removable. Early ones definitely removable. Later ones semi-removable, I would call it. But that's what we're looking at right now today. And we're going to look at the details of how to identify these when you're at a gun show. So the first model is this big guy here that I just ran across the screen. This particular one was produced in 1918. It's 6.5 millimeter. So the standard round most of us are familiar with in a Carcano. Distinguishing features right off the bat is the kind of short upper hand guard that you can identify from a distance. Something similar to like an Arasaka. I don't know what's going on with the video. The upper hand guard on the front part, that's a good sign of a Carcano. It's a very narrow gun. Very narrow barrel as well. Slings, barrel bands at the front, they're kind of standard. One of the defining features of the early Carcanos, though, that you got to keep an eye out for, is this kind of roller coaster sight here. This is actually fixed in its battle sight, so you'll be aiming off that notch there, and you can quickly switch back over to, I think it's a 300-yard zero there. And you just push in on the button, and then you can adjust your sight back. Markings, let's have a look at some of the markings. They're pretty well marked, these rifles, as you probably would expect. That's me knocking stuff over because this rifle is huge. So you got your serial number, you got Turin, where it was manufactured, and in this one you have a double digit for its date. There's a few more markings under the stock. I'm not going to be disassembling this. If you guys want to see a disassembled video, I will do one for you if you ask. Right in here, this is not a marking you'll find on all of them, and it's hard to see because it's half under the stock, but what it is, it's crossed rifles. What it means, nobody's 100% sure. Nobody can tell you with full definition as to what those means. It's considered to be a mark of an exceptionally accurate rifle during factory testing. I like that theory. They tend to go for a little bit more if they have that marking on it. Do I think it's right that they sell for a bit more because of the marking? I personally wouldn't care. It just happened this one had it when I picked it up. So it's on this one. You do have some markings on the stock. You have a nice little Italian emblem here with the crest in the middle. This one's pretty well worn. I mean, it's over 100 years old, so I'm not surprised. You have the serial number, which does match the rifle. But these little blocks, they look like they might be filled in or counter stamped. I don't know. They're kind of weird looking. And the long rifles, you don't have anything in the buttstock because you have the cleaning rod, which unfortunately is missing from this. Cleaning rod in the front. Alright, so those are the basic features of this. This is probably the easiest one by far to tell because it is giant. It's a full-length Carcano. And with the bayonet on it, they're even creepier and bigger. Another really good sign of an early one, straight bolt. Those are the two dead giveaways. You don't find this straight bolt being used on the later models, which we're going to get into in a minute. I don't have every single rifle, but I have enough rifles with enough features to give you a general idea of what you're looking at. So this would be World War I or interwar even. Did they make them past World War I? Yes, they did. But they just really kind of weren't that popular. So moving on to, well, this is where it gets confusing. So I'll tell you the dates of these, but let's go on to the next model. And the next model has some features and a good example of an exception to the rule. So this here would be the musketon. Well, technically not the musketon. Oh yes, sorry, it is the musketon. Sorry guys, I'm getting confused myself. There's slight differences in different terminology for everything. So the first one would be considered a model 1891. I'm not going to say it in Italian because I'm not Italian and I don't know how to say numbers in Italian. And I'm not going to be pretentious enough to say Modello 1891 because why say the first part Italian and the second part in English if you can't say it all, right? All right, so defining feature obviously is going to be the bayonet. If you want to look into this locking feature here, a lot of times, man, what is going on here? That's just me trying to fix the cable. I don't know why that's glitching. Anyway, sorry guys. Back to this. So as I was saying, this is the 1891 musketon. And it has an integrated bayonet in it, which is kind of cool. This case one, it's been updated. So you got to push it on the button. And wonder why it doesn't work. Because it should pop out. Hard to do on camera. Easier to do if you're holding it. Oh yeah, pull. Sorry guys. You gotta pull back. Push in. Pull back. I was thinking more like SKS. Push in. There, you're locked. So that's the bayonet. You'll find there's a couple of versions with the Carcanos with this bayonet, and this is where things get a little confusing. So moving on to some of the other features of this. We're going to move down. You'll see there's an adjustable sight similar to what you saw on the full-size rifle, but smaller. There's also a 6.5 Carcano round. But this sight block here is a general indication of an pre-World War II troop spécial. There's a million different terms, but anyways, this would generally be a sign of a pre-war troop spécial rifle. But as I was saying, they manufactured these at different factories, and man, what is... Alright, I readjusted my camera. Hopefully it won't glitch out now. So, the sight is kind of a giveaway that it might be pre-war, World War II that is. They simplified these during manufacturing of World War II, especially around the beginning, to a fixed sight. And I'll show you what a fixed sight looks like. So, that's the fixed sight I'm referring to. Alright. Okay, there you go. That's the fixed sight. So fixed sight, if you see that, then you know it's World War II. That's me trying to fix my camera again, because I'm going insane trying to fix this thing. So that's... this is an exception to the rule, because this one is actually manufactured in 1942. We'll go over the markings real quickly. But keep an eye out for that. If you see that, probably pre-World War II, but not always, right? Turn down bolt, that's going to be a feature of all these because they are meant to be side slung, and you obviously don't need a bolt stabbing you in the back or sticking out catching on things. So the turn down bolt is going to be a feature of pretty much every rifle after World War I, or in this case the special troop rifles will have a turn down bolt after World War I. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. This one, they've been refurbished over and over and over again. So small details like the front barrel band are going to change. Particularly the bayonet locking system is going to change. It's a pressed on piece, so easy enough to update when there's problems or complaints found in practice. The sight, yeah. The sight functions similar, but it has a locking mechanism that's Yeah, whatever. I don't know why you want to lock. I like the older style if you have an adjustable sight to be able to quick flip it back to close range. Let's get some of the close-up details on this, shall we? Yoink. So, I'll flip this around so it's actually right side up for you guys this time. This one I can do it with, the other one I couldn't because it was so big. So we're looking at 42XX. A lot of times you'll find these marked with the a different year marking. For when Mussolini came in, he kind of restarted the calendar kind of naming process, which is just what egotists do, right? You're going to have manufacturing again. This one I can't actually read offhand. Also on the side, you're going to have serial numbers. This one also has the crossed rifles on it, but they're much smaller. The stock, you got a marking down there. You're going to have a serial number. And other weird markings, I don't really know what they mean. That's kind of like the mystery of these things a lot of times. But that's the general overview of the musketon. So, run it back over real quick. Late war ones will have a fixed sight as opposed to adjustable, but there's exceptions to every rule. So check your date when you get up close. But from a distance, if you see this, pre-war, if it's fixed, during the war. Simple little, like I said, down and dirty kind of example of what we're talking about. So let's move on to the other version of Carcano that you see fairly commonly. And that's this guy here. This one is my favorite, and it's probably the most iconic of all the Carcanos. I don't know what's going on with that screen again. Alright, moving on to the next version. This is probably the most popular and right now kind of one of the harder ones to find. This would be the model 1938. Specifically, this one was manufactured in 1942. 1940, sorry. So that's actually earlier than the other one I showed you. But it has a couple features that I think are quite interesting and things to note for. This would be the Kennedy rifle that most people want, and which is why it's kind of the coolest rifle. From here back, it's kind of not distinguishable. There's nothing unique about the front here. The earlier carbine versions would have a different bayonet lug where you would slide it in. I don't have that. That's pretty rare. Most of these, again, were updated. It's simply a matter of replacing the nose cone and then you update your bayonet attachment. That would have been specifically for cavalry, I believe. This one would be a general issue rifle for World War II. So moving back, the key thing to remember when you're looking at a rifle that's been turned into or manufactured as a carbine when it comes to Carcanos is this lightning cut right here, or a little finger groove cut. This is important. Without this, you're looking at a shortened version of a World War I rifle. And sometimes a very literal shortening. Other times it's manufactured that way. So a big way to tell when you're looking at this whether or not it's World War II is there the finger groove. If there's a finger groove, it's going to be World War II. Unless somebody restocked it. If it's a fixed sight, it's going to be World War II. If it's this sight here on the big boy, if it's that sight right up in there, you can kind of see where it lines up. What could have happened is it was manufactured as a carbine, which is what you want, because these have progressive twist, and the carbine rifles have a different twist rate than the full-length rifles. But if you do have a cut-down version of a World War I full-size Carcano, your twist rate isn't going to be as precise. And I believe that's one of the things that have led to these things for having a reputation of a bad accuracy. But also the modern ammunition that you can get now, there are exceptions to every rule, but the ones you're going to find most likely are going to be an undersized bullet in a Spitzer format, as where the Carcano had a round nosed, I can't remember the exact term for it, but had a rounder, older style bullet. The other thing you'll find about these is the caliber changing. This is a 6.5. There's also a 7 point... Sorry guys, have to... you don't see them very often. Sorry, bear with me. Just looking at my notes here. It would have been a 7.35 by 5.1. That was tried out pre-World War II, interwar period. Larger bullet, that was the idea, blah, 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 blah. Better line of sight shooting, so it's a straighter flying bullet without much drop. Would have been a good bullet. Problem was World War II broke out. Supply issues became a problem. You couldn't get those bullets out, so most of the rifles that were in that were converted back to 6.5. I've only seen one. I wish I got it. Didn't have the money. But all that said, you'll find these and these guys, you could find them in the 7.35. If you do, you're never going to shoot it because you're not going to find that ammunition. But all that... And the other thing you're going to find too is there will be a difference on some of these, about a 3-inch difference between two different versions. Why that difference is there, I'm not sure. If it had something to do with the testing of the 7.35, or it was just they realized they can chop off 3 inches and not really worry about it. So there are slightly different versions. That's what complicates things. But I've shown you the main 3 versions and what to look for, so I'll just recap it real quick. Adjustable sights, most likely pre-World War II, World War I. Fixed sights, World War II. Folding bayonet, World War I or II, doesn't matter. They had them both. The World War I's are going to be much more rare with the folding bayonets because they didn't make as many. And obviously the long rifle, which I showed you guys, the big guy I'm not pulling back out, that's World War I. It's huge, it's massive, it's got a straight bolt. Turn down bolts, you're going to find them on all these. So that's not going to change. The mechanism itself isn't going to change. I can take this bolt out, put it in my World War I and vice versa. They'll all work. But bent bolts are what you want to see for World War II. And the shorter versions. But key giveaway, like I said, sights. And for the best version of the carbine, if you ask me, is the one with the finger groove. That's going to be the Kennedy rifle. There are a lot of minor differences out there. I would highly suggest you go check out CNR Arsenal if you want to see more detail about these. Alright, that concludes hopefully what will be a quick guide to identifying Carcanos at a quick glance. If you want to see more detail, check out CNR Arsenal. They have the amazing multiple segments, hour-long each for each type of rifle. They'll go over all the details about all the bayonets, well, the folding bayonets. I will hopefully get a folding bayonet soon. They actually cost more than the rifles, which sucks. I do have the long bayonet for the big guy, but until I get the smaller one, that will be a separate video. So stay tuned, guys. I hope you like it, and I'll remind you one last time, this is probably your last chance to subscribe, leave a comment, and you're entered to win a swag bag from TACOM. I'll be shipping that out. You don't have to do anything. Just leave a comment, subscribe, and you're entered to win, and I will pick the winner, or randomly pick the winner on October 1st, and I will get in contact with whoever that might be, and it's yours. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Like I said, subscribe, and like if you don't like it anyways, because it helps me. Alright guys, thank you again. See you in the next video.